Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Bushman, James Edwards. This is the broadcast for July the 30th in the year of our Lord, 2025. Promoting God, family, country, protecting life, liberty, and property, using the supreme law of the land, the Constitution of the United States of America, along with the incredible checks and balances put in place by the Founding Fathers to chain them down with the Constitution. That's what we, the people, need to do. That's for sure. We reject revolution, unless it's a Jesus revolution. Then we're in because we follow the Prince of Peace. Joe Rogan criticizing President Trump, expressing disappointment about promises to drain the swamp have not been fulfilled. Specifically talking about the Epstein scenario. A recent Reuters Ipsos poll shows 69% of Americans believe the federal government's hiding details about the Epstein client list, etc. Now, why do I bring this up? Because the next headline says, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard exposed how the Barack Obama administration manufactured the January 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, a.k.a. the Russian Hoax. In her words, she says, quote, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people. Now, before we get to Ghislaine Maxwell and before we kind of merge these two stories together, it's fascinating that these stories are overlapping. We've known about the Russian hoax forever. We've known there's been criminal activity forever. If this happened in 2017, why 8 years later are we still getting patered on it? Thank heavens for Tulsi Gabbard getting the information, declassifying it, releasing it, telling the truth on this thing. But if we really have evidence that Barack Obama did do this stuff, Trump's using the words treason and everything else regarding it, why aren't people arrested, James?
That's a great question, because I can guarantee you that at the very least, the Mossad has pictures of, I can think of a couple of Republican senators who would be very good candidates for something like this with boys, underage boys, things like that. And they would have been blackmailed by someone other than Epstein. But again, we don't know what's going on with all this. Maybe Israeli intelligence is threatening to release their dirt if Trump screws up their carefully assembled blackmail package by releasing the Epstein material. Who knows how many people are under control as a result of these things. And if it all comes out, of course, the people pulling the strings would lose that leverage. I don't think that's conspiratorial at all, because we know for a fact that there were victims. Okay, we know for a fact there were many, many, many victims of this, girls who have come forth, and I do believe that. I don't think there's any question to that Jeffrey Epstein was engaged in this sort of trafficking and all of that.
Well, he's a convicted.
Exactly.
He's convicted, right? Let's be clear. He's a convicted pedophile.
And then you've got all these people that we know, high caliber politicians that were in his orbit, if not there on the island itself. So there's a lot of smoke there. And we know, well, here's the thing. We know that these girls were trafficked. If they were trafficked and they were abused, somebody was abusing them. All we still know to date is that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were involved, and we know the victims. But who were the clients? Who were, well, that's the word, the clients. Who were the people who were partaking?
The government's acting like they can't get this or they don't have this information. That's an absolute blatant lie.
Could get that in any...
I'm not even an incredible investigator, but I know I can tell you how to dig. Follow the money, follow the phone records, follow the traffic logs of who was on the planes. You've got plenty of details.
Well, wait a minute.
You literally go behind the scenes and talk to Ghislaine Maxwell, and she gives you 100 people right off the top of her tongue.
These girls would know who did it to them, right? I mean,
Sure,
we know that they know. We know that they know. There's no doubt that the government knows. So the question is,
okay,
and again,
so here's the problem, though. Trump has a credibility crisis. When people like Joe Rogan, who aren't even really that political per se, the only reason he interviewed the presidents to get ratings and stuff, and just imagine where it would be if President Trump came on our programs and stuff like that. But I digress, except to say, Joe Rogan, why would he even weigh in on this? Because it's not a left-right discussion anymore. Now the Democrats are pushing for the Epstein files and details to be released, and the Republicans in legislative halls are blocking it, James.
Exactly. So that's the thing. And the question is, why, and will it ever be released? And it doesn't look like, I mean, if it was any other case of sexual abuse or rape or whatever involving normal people, this would have been found out by, Podunk County Sheriff. Now, anybody, if this is not hard work to do. So, in Trump, all of his polls now are upside down. He went from just soaring on every issue, and once he made that foreign policy misadventure in middle June with that strike against the Iran nuclear facilities, that coupled with the just grotesque handling of the Epstein, not just the fact that he wouldn't release them, but everything he's saying since then, this whole thing where, like, if you were a MAGA person who can't get off this, what he's calling a Democratic hoax, then he doesn't want your support. I mean, and that is Trump just being bombastic, and that's just Trump being Trump. But he is not only did he not do the right thing,
it's doing himself huge disfavors, though. Saying that you don't want my support, Trump, I've always given you support when you're right, 100%. When you're wrong, I speak out like I'm doing now, like Joe Rogan and others are. And this is the key to the point. It isn't left-right. The Democrats want to release the files. The Republicans are like, no, we're not releasing it. We're not letting you get one up on us. What are you talking about? I thought we all wanted them to be released. Well, that was until the Democrats did. Now we don't. See, the games being played are exposing the deep state for what it is. I don't care who's of what party. Everybody in their right mind wants this to be released. They want accountability. And it isn't even about Jeff. Okay, who cares how he died? Forget it. He's suicide. They killed him. Who knows? Who cares? We may never know. My question, and where's the Me Too movement on this too? My question is, what about this sex trafficking ring, this pedophile sex ring? So Jeff is gone. Does that mean the organization's gone? Whenever you look at a gang, whenever you look at a whatever, there's somebody that fills that vacuum, buddy. If there's a demand for this kind of stuff, which there incredibly is, then somebody's going to supply it. So we're kind of led to believe that everything kind of stopped when Jeff was taken out of the picture or whatever. I don't believe that. So my question is, what about the victims today, James? What about the 3,000 or 300,000 immigrant children that were lost under the Biden administration? Where they are, who knows? Okay, what about all this stuff? And it isn't about Jeff. It isn't about Donald. It's about these people. Hey, these monsters did this and got away with it. And they're probably continuing right this very second while we talk, James.
All that's true. And as you said, Joe Rogan, I mean, he is a pretty independent-minded mega media outlet in his own right. He's an institution in his own right. And he was given a pretty good deal of credit for getting Trump over the finish line with that interview, the very lengthy interview right before the election.
Yeah, Trump got over the finish line in 16 because of us, and he gets over the finish line in 24 because of Joe. And hey, there
could be argued, but now, Joe's not going to want to talk to him, and I get that. But what I'm saying is, it's a terrible thing. Trump, yes, I mean, it's easy to say he should release them. I'm not saying that. It's just human nature to look for something that you don't. The first thing you can have a point of contention on, and just cling to that.
Why don't we just release one name at a time and do one prosecution at a time? Bill Clinton, you wrote a letter to Jeffrey Epstein saying, you really applaud his childlike interest, or I can't remember the exact wording or whatever else. That's very weird and strange. He lied about how often he was on the Lolita Express airplane. He lied how many times he went to Jeffrey Epstein Island. He's caught in his own sexual scandals where women have been coming up for years. He lied to the American people and got caught perjuring himself, saying I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And then he said, oh, I did indeed. And I let everybody down, and I'm so sorry. Okay, why not just start with Bill Clinton? We know he's on the list. We know he's got shenanigans separate from Jeffrey. We know he's got men running around claiming they're his children and they want DNA tests. We've got women running around claiming that, hey, he abused them, and they're willing to come up with very detailed stories about it and everything else. Hillary at the time called them bimbo eruptions. Where's the Me Too movement? And so what's happening is they're trying to kind of wipe the Jeffrey Epstein discussion off the table by mixing it with this Tulsi Gabbard thing, saying, hey, the Obama administration manufactured, this whole thing against Donald Trump. So my response is let's take action. We don't need to let one story obliterate the other story. Maybe they're tied together. Why don't we start finding out about Barack Obama? What about his sexcapades? What about let's dig into to the President Barack Obama, to the President Bill Clinton, and let's find out where they stand. We can start with those two names, can't we, James?
Well, it'd be nice to have it all, but I think there are plausible reasons why Trump may feel he can't release it. And what do you say? Should you bring the whole? Is that Trump's version of the Samson option? Bring down everything for this one issue? That's the question you got to ask.
Darn right. Get it done. We'll talk about Ghislaine more in a second.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
Experience the untamed spirit of the American West with Range Magazine. Each issue is a visual journey featuring award-winning photography and compelling stories that capture the heart of ranching and rural life. Stay informed on the challenges and triumphs of those who live and work on the land. Subscribe today and receive quarterly editions delivered to your doorstep, and join a community that cherishes the enduring legacy of the Western frontier. Visit rangemagazine.com to subscribe.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, "By having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids."
All right, we're talking about Ghislaine Maxwell. She's gunning for a pardon, ladies and gentlemen. So again, Donald Trump making mistake after mistake on this thing. He literally let them go in and interview her in private. The Justice Department or whatever else. That just smacks of more manipulation. Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney, I kind of laugh about this, David Oscar Markus, it almost reminds me of Oscar Mayer, but anyway, David Oscar Markus stated that Maxwell is willing to testify before House investigators under certain conditions, including a formal grant of immunity. Additionally, Markus mentioned that she'd be willing to testify if granted a pardon by President Trump. The conditions were detailed in a letter to the House Oversight Committee, and here's the deal, in my opinion. Her lawyers have indicated without immunity and without, a pardon or whatever else, she will just simply invoke her Fifth Amendment rights. James, I don't think she's in a position to negotiate, number one. And number two, I'd be interested in digging into what kind of a sentence does she have? How is she in jail? Because we know that Jeffrey Epstein, when he went to jail the first time, was treated with kid gloves. We know you got Guantanamo Bay going on. You know we got Alcatraz of Florida, or Alligator Alcatraz going on. And, do you think that Ghislaine's in Alcatraz, Florida over there? Or do you think she's in kind of a posh, special privilege scenario? I mean, we got to really kind of find out about this stuff, folks, right? But they say he's serving a 20-year sentence, and there you go.
Well,
Right?
I'd sure like to know because she is one of the biggest names in the news for the last half decade now, and everybody wants to know about this. Do you want to bring down the House? Do you want to bring down the Trump administration potentially? Any good? I mean, there's something there that's got him spooked, and I don't believe it's because he was raping little kids and is a part of this. But Do you trust him for the reasons not to? He's certainly not handled it well. He's not explained it well. He's lashed out at people, but something's going on, I think. But nevertheless, would I personally like to know who's on that list? Absolutely. Who wouldn't? And to know what's going on and to see justice served. But, what if it brings down... It could bring down the world. You're talking about the most powerful people in the world.
Fine.
Who knows what these people would do?
No, that's fine.
They could manipulate wars. They could do things that would cause so much more death, potentially. I'm just saying in a worst case scenario. But I'll tell you this, there's no doubt about this. Ghislaine Maxwell knows who was involved. There she is in jail, and now they're interviewing her again. I mean, what else do they need to know that they couldn't possibly know already? They're giving her what they call limited immunity. I don't even know what that means and what they're going to do with that or how she can benefit from that. She knows. Everybody knows.
It means start talking. I'll advocate and try to see what I can do for you.
Do they not know who was involved in this? I mean, but they've got to know. They've got to know who was there.
That's the thing, James. When it comes to you and your life, they know every penny you spend, everything you do.
Sure they do.
Every step you make. When it comes to Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump and some of these insiders and Bill Clinton and Barack Obama and everything else, by golly, they got to investigate for decades, right? I mean, they've literally been at this investigation about this Russia hoax for 8 years. Are they going to ever arrest anybody? They're literally going, Barack committed treason. That's not my words. That's their words. But yet no one's arresting him? What the heck's going on, James? And now you find out the Democrats are wanting to push to release the Epstein files and the Republicans are blocking it. You literally had Mike Johnson take off Congress, literally shut it down and go home to prevent a vote on that.
Okay, so exactly. Yes, he sent them home a few days early from there. They don't work too much to begin with. They've got these month-long breaks all throughout the calendar, and they were getting ready for their normal August recess where they take a month off. And he sent them home about a week early, but this is, again, something that Trump was sailing high. When we had our big Will to Power conference, Sam, in South Carolina back the first week of June, it was just, politically speaking for Trump, and he's still done some good things. There's still some good things coming, out of the Trump administration, no doubt about it. Defunding PBS, anchor baby, Supreme Court's given some victories. There's some good things still happening, but it is all absolutely overshadowed, and not just because the media is trying to focus on things that will damage him, although certainly they are, but it is overshadowed truly by the handling of the Epstein and the situation in the Middle East where America blundered, frankly. So he went from having positive polling on every major issue to now negative on issues that's not even related to this, because this is just such an anchor that he's bringing him down everywhere in terms of the polls. So from where he was in June when we had that awesome conference with Steve King, Steve Stockman, me and you and so many others in the first week of June to now, that's how quick the winds of politics can change. And, I guess the question is, in your opinion, is, well, I would say as good as anybody else's, but probably more informed because you watch these things so closely, and this is what you've done for your entire life as a career in broadcast media. But where is this going to go? It's not going to go away. Is it just going to be something that eventually people just sort of bake into the cake and say, well, that's not a good thing, but we're not getting anything?
I think a lot of this is going to go away. Here's what I predict happens, James. You've got Tulsi Gabbard exposing basically Barack Obama. And you got Trump literally using words like treason. Okay? In Tulsi Gabbard's words, they quote, conspired to subvert the will of the American people. Now, those are very unique chosen words. And whether you conspire to subvert the will of the American people, see, is that a criminal act, James? Or is that just, we don't really like it? So here's what they've learned to do, and the proof is in the pudding. They've learned to bring everything to the edge of discussion. And I mentioned that talk show hosts that ride for the mainstream press do the same thing. What they do is they whip everybody up in a frenzy. They whip everybody up into, this is a horrible situation or crime or whatever. And then they whip everybody up only to bring them to the brink of frustration with no solution or answer in sight. So if it's treason, well, hey, there's a rule you got to go through for treason, right? And, hey, when it was done as he was president, just say, well, he's got immunity, right? I mean, Trump basically was on the other side of this discussion literally 6 months ago, demanding immunity. Well, he got it. Now it's protecting Obama. But they bring you to the brink of, well, hey, you know, I mean, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people, but there's no really law against that, James. It's really unethical and it's horrible and but everything they do whip you to a frenzy. Jeffrey Epstein, let's talk about it. Now we're like, hey, there's no list, nothing here. Oh, you want to push back on it? Fine. Let's obliterate this now with Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney. She's literally going to call the shots. She's going to go, hey, man, I'm just going to plead the fifth if you guys do that. If you don't give me immunity, if you don't give me a pardon, I'm just going to plead the fifth and I'm good. You know, when is that going to work? In my opinion, you need to get her on the stand and she can not say things, but you can also have witnesses that come up and testify and make claims. And then, you know, are you going to choose not to answer this claim? If so, at some point, there's a presumption of guilt before a jury. Okay. And so we look at this and we already put Ghislaine in jail for her sex trafficking. Jeff's dead. Who cares now? What about all these other people? Put Bill Clinton on the stand. Were you involved with Ghislaine Maxwell? Were you put these people on the stand, put them on TV. You want a reality TV? You want Judge Judy? Come on, baby. Let's do it for reals. Let's put Judge Judy in the hot seat to do. Hey, get Judge Janine Shapiro or Janine. Is that how you say her name? Janine Pirro?
Yeah.
Anyway, get Judge Janine on there or Judge Andrew Napolitano and let them go ahead and just carry out public hearings on TV. Let Bill testify on TV. And if they plead the fifth, then hey, we're going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law with the evidence that we have. But see, they bring you to the brink, James, every time. And then at the end of the day, it's like, well, you know, it was bad, but not that bad. When it was bad, but we really can't do anything about it. It's pretty slippery. Presidents have immunity. I don't agree with that. You have immunity when you're acting as president. You don't have immunity when you act on your own against the American people and against the next selected president of the United States. You know, they talked about peaceful transfer of power and how Donald wasn't willing to have a peaceful transfer of power, but then he was. And okay, but Barack wasn't. This isn't a peaceful transfer of power if you're going to harass and manipulate and lie about and cause problems for the next president for the next year plus. We've been going on this thing now 8 years or more. And I look at this and I go, no prosecutions. So they're famous for bringing it to the brink, but never any real resolution except for frustration and golly, sure wish we could do something. Now the Republicans are blocking the release of the Epstein files. The Democrats are all for it. If you can't see the clown show and realize we're being played for suckers, I don't know what is. Now, who's playing what role, James? I can't say. Meaning, I don't know if Trump's in on it or Trump's this or that. I don't know. At the end of the day, I know this, though. I bet neither of these cases are going to produce people going to jail, really. Maybe a couple of low-level people at best, but that's about it, James.
Well, how does it take this long to even get to that? I mean, you've got Maxwell in there, and then they killed Epstein.
Easy. You're going to slow walk it, and you don't want the answers, and you don't want the prosecution. If it was James, you'd be prosecuted, convicted, and gone away by now, buddy. A long time ago, my friend. So it's that they don't want it to reach ahead. They want it to be titillating. They want it to derail the American people from discussions. And if we push too hard, then I predict war. I predict something else, as you wisely pointed out. They'll take it to the next level if they have to, buddy. Don't you dare get too close or all bets are off. And I agree that's the problem. I also agree that's not the reason we should shrink.
Well, I'll say something about this. You know, I know you probably want to move on to another topic, but yes, I mean, if you're talking about the most powerful people in the world that have the ability to manipulate government, manipulate everything, the media, courts, they can manipulate wars too, and they do, and they would to protect themselves and to remain in power.
Maybe you got to shut down the Federal Reserve and take away their fake money, huh? That ought to reduce a few shenanigans. Quit attacking the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell over interest rates. By the way, they're supposed to announce them today. Will they cut them or not? Donald says you got to cut them, and Jerome says no, and everybody's saying it's political. Why don't you just shut down the Federal Reserve and cancel the fraudulent debt and start over? You want to blow that sucker up? You want to make your name famous forever? That's how you get her done, Donald. Andrew Jackson did it, and you can do it too, buddy. Praying for you. Hang tight. Liberty Roundtable live.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump says surprisingly strong economic growth in the second quarter bolsters his argument for a cut in interest rates. However, the Federal Reserve not expected to announce a rate cut later today, opting instead to hold rates where they are. The U.S. economy grew at a 3% annual clip April through June. And the president threatening a major trading partner with a big tariff hike.
President Trump has announced he'll impose 25% tariffs on goods from India. Posting on Truth Social, the president says there will also be an additional penalty import tax starting on Friday because India continues to buy Russian oil and military equipment, which enables Moscow's war in Ukraine. Trump says India is our friend, but its tariffs are far too high on U.S. goods. Last year, the U.S. trade deficit with India rose nearly 5.5% to close to $46 billion. Jennifer King, Washington.
The world has not witnessed an earthquake this strong since 2011, an 8.8 magnitude quake that struck Russia's Far East last night. However, it failed to unleash the destructive tsunami waves that had been feared along the west coast of the U.S., on Hawaii, and in Alaska. President Trump is warning Russia's Vladimir Putin to agree to a Ukraine ceasefire, or else.
We're going to put on tariffs and stuff, and I don't know if it's going to affect Russia, because he wants to obviously probably keep the war going. But we're going to put on tariffs and the various things that you put on. It may or may not affect them, but it could.
Mr. Trump giving Putin 10 days to decide what he will do. That's much shorter than Mr. Trump's initial 50-day deadline. The president spoke to reporters as he was heading home from Scotland. Watching Wall Street this hour, the Dow trading about 16 points higher. The Nasdaq is up 82, the S&P better by 12. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. You work hard, you build wisely, your home has become one of your greatest assets. If you're staying put this summer, this might be the perfect time to put that equity to work. Whether it's funding a second home, helping your kids get their start, or simply creating more margin in your financial life, Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans are the only ones I trust to guide you through it. They've done loans for my family. They tailor every loan to fit your goals. Fellowship is a direct lender and operates with your best interest in mind. If you're looking to access your equity through a refi or exploring a HELOC for some cash this summer for a second property, or maybe tackle those updates you've been putting off, start with people you trust, people I trust. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
The Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit legal foundation committed to protecting our unalienable right to publicly acknowledge God. The Foundation for Moral Law exists to restore the knowledge of God in law and government, and to acknowledge and defend the truth that man is endowed with rights not by our fellow man, but by God. The foundation maintains a twofold focus. First, litigation within state and federal courts. Second, education, conducting seminars to teach the necessity and importance of acknowledging God in law and government. How can you help? Please make a tax-deductible contribution, allowing foundation attorneys to continue the fight. You may also purchase various foundation products as well at morallaw.org. Located in Montgomery, Alabama, the Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 founded by Judge Roy Moore. Please partner with us to achieve this important mission. morallaw.org.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At CSPOA.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever.
This is a battle between truth and deceit. A battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness, and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com.
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
And welcome back, everybody. James Edwards bringing you back from the break, back into another segment of Sam Bushman's Liberty Roundtable. And there have been two primary stories that have been covered during today's broadcast. In the first hour, the Sydney Sweeney jeans ad for American Eagle, and then in the second hour, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, the way that all of this has been handled or mishandled by Trump and the administration, and what they could do and what the consequences might be if the information that we all want to see was released. We're speculating on some of it, but hey, this is where we're at. And I can tell you that between the two stories, Sam, I wish we could go back to the Sydney Sweeney one. That was the first hour was a lot more fun. But folks, you're kidding yourselves if you believe that all of this rhetoric that you're getting from the Democrats, they're taking this. It's just a very easy loose ball for them to grab right now and sort of latch on, because they've been on their heels and reeling for almost a year now, just getting steamrolled. So it's very easy for them to take this very unpopular topic for Trump and say, yes, we want there to be full transparency and accountability, and we want to get to the bottom of this. That is as fake as the day is long, folks. I hope nobody believed that if they were in power that they would have done anything differently.
It is, James. The problem I have with it is Republicans are now the bloc. Call their bluff. Release it then.
Well, yes, they are playing. The Republicans are certainly making a lot of mistakes here. The question is, and I think this is the thing that has to be seriously considered, Sam, and not a lot of people are talking about this. Very easy for us all to say, and I certainly agree with this too. Release it. We want to know. These people need to be held accountable, no more or less than any random Joe Schmo who might rape some little kid needs to be held accountable. And the Democrats are playing a political game here, and if they were in power, they wouldn't have done anything differently, and they wouldn't have released it, and they probably can't afford for it to be released any more than anybody else. But
and the proof is they had 4 years to get it done and did nothing, just like the Trump administration before them did nothing either.
Exactly. So, but the question is, why is he not releasing it? And is there a reason for the greater good, or is it just all bad? That is a serious question, Sam, because if you say, well, no matter what, no matter what.
Not only is it serious, but it's fair. Here's the sad part. If Trump would have legitimately explained to us the details and why from the start,
there you go,
in a common sense way that made sense, I might give him the benefit of the doubt and enough trust to get it done. But when you literally run on this, you literally have your attorney general say it's on her desk for review. You literally, and then all of a sudden you say, there's nothing to it. And then to make matters worse, you attack me for trying to hold true on the topic. How dare you? And that's where I'm saying this has got to stop. If you want to come back and say, listen, we've discovered that this thing runs so deep, it's so crazy, it's so out of control that it will destroy. It'll put us in a war. I know you think I'm full of hyperbole, but I'm not. We're going to prosecute some of this. We're going to deal with some of this. We're going to make sure that it gets stopped going forward in the future. Okay, because to me the issue really is, I don't believe if you take out crime boss Jeffrey Epstein, I don't believe the whole apparatus goes away.
Well, he wasn't even the boss. He was working some low level. We don't really know exactly. But Epstein was not.
But at the end of the day, so he's gone. Is the whole apparatus though? Let's say you're a drug dealer, a gang leader. You've got all kinds of people and organizations and systems and processes and all these things in place to make all those things happen. And I'm telling you that the vacuum, they want you to believe the vacuum just doesn't get filled. It's just like, oh, everybody literally went away. I'm not buying that for a second. So to me, it's about ongoing crimes more than anything. James?
Okay, well, what you said before that is the key to it all. Because it's just so easy to say, well, he's lying to us and he's showing out and he's attacking his own people, and so we're just not going to support anymore. But it is plausible maybe not likely. I don't know what odds you would put on it, but it's plausible. I'd say 50-50 if I had to, that there is something that they found out once they had the keys to the kingdom again, come January, that they have found out in this that has either spooked them or forced them to not being able to release it for reasons that are to our benefit, for, as I said a moment ago, the greater good. But as you said, Sam, this is how Trump should have handled it. That, guys, I know, an address to the nation even, however you want to do it, press conference, you name it. I know I said that I would release these files. Upon extensive and comprehensive review of these files, we have found things in here that would shake the public trust in the institution of government to its cores. It could lead to wars. We can, explain it in a way that is truth. Just, you can tell the truth about that without releasing it, if that is in fact what's really going on.
And then you double down and you say, I appreciate the Sam Bushmans of the world, or the Joe Rogans of the world, or the who really, are pushing to get to the bottom of this. I respect them. I commend their desire for transparency and accountability and honesty. I agree with that in general, too. But remember, there are some issues that, I might give Trump the benefit of the doubt if he was. But when he attacks me and acts like I'm the bad guy, I'm at fault, I've fallen for a Democratic hoax. Now he's put partisan politics into it. Now he's attacked his own base. And what for? Why would you do that? I don't understand why you would do that, James. Why would you do that?
Well, well, I can tell you why. I mean, this was one of the things that made Trump so lovable for a lot of us, is that he did have this bombast and this freewheeling thing. And, of course, that is something that is somewhat unhinged. And when he's being pushed back or feels frustrated or whatever, you're going to get it, too.
But I don't think people submit to you that Trump owes me an apology, James.
Well, I don't know if I've ever heard him give one to anybody, so I wouldn't exactly hold my breath on that one. But this is just Trump. I think,
wouldn't hold
you
my
look
breath,
at it.
But you see my point, though. I've been attacked as a broadcast journalist or an on-air journalist or whatever, saying, how dare you, you're at fault, you're falling for a Democratic hoax. This is the Epstein hoax and everything else. And look, Donald's losing credibility on that one. And I'm standing up going, no, Jeffrey's a convicted pedophile. And we're trying to find out which pedophiles around him need to be convicted too. That's what we're talking about. And we're really talking about, is there an organization in place now? I still want to know that. I keep asking that question because nobody else is. Is there an organization in place now carrying on Jeffrey's perversions?
I would say yes. I mean, because Jeffrey Epstein wasn't the boss. Is there a more important
question than that, James?
There's got to be other ones. I'm sure that there's other ones. I mean, this spying and blackmailing thing. I mean, Epstein was not the Capone of this operation. I mean, he was working, I think, somewhat of a menial job before he sort of got cast into this role, and then of course he lived in the lap of luxury and all of that. But I would just say, so there are going to be other people like him that they'll use. But I would say this,
in his own state, not a like organization, not a different gang, not a different trafficking order. What about his organization? Did it just go away?
Oh, I mean, maybe. I mean, there, somebody else would have filled the shoes, or there's other operations that have been set up now to take the place of that.
I don't believe for 1 second that it just went away. All those contacts, all that apparatus, all that money flow, all that, the way you do this for decades as a pervert and not get caught is you have processes that evade systems and avoid detection and everything else. What about all that? Is that apparatus just gone? Are we just led to believe it just, hey, when Jeff died, it just went away?
Well, you're saying, did somebody else just, assume his position, or did his clients go to, some other new formed ring of whatever this activity is?
Yeah, it's still ongoing. No, there's an ongoing crimes and ongoing victimizations, right?
It's still ongoing. It's just with somebody else that we haven't heard about yet.
Shouldn't it be? And so I would challenge Donald Trump and say, listen, forget Jeff, forget Trump. It's not about you, Donald. Forget looking into the past if you want to ignore that. What about the ongoing perversion now? What about the names that we know that we've never had proper conviction? Look, Barack Obama's birth certificate is it? What's the deal with that? If we're going to say Barack literally framed you, Donald, and literally committed treason in that regard, maybe you can't convict him because the laws protect the president. You made sure of that. So now it comes back to bite you in the butt, Donald. But what about this scenario where you say we're going to get to the bottom of his birth certificate? We're going to expose more and more and more information, and we're going to get this trafficking ring stopped. That, to me, is the discussion that nobody should be on different sides of.
Well, it's one thing to be able to act on something that has happened, and, if you don't know who's running it, or maybe they do. But here's what I would say is maybe Trump had good reasons not to release them. Maybe. He did not have good reasons to gaslight and insult his base, but that's just Trump being Trump. I mean, we know he acts this way. Ask Rosie O'Donnell or Jeb Bush. There's a reason why people hated him so much, but I think his base should just simply not take him seriously when he plays this high-handed prima donna like this. But it's just part of it. It's a feature with Trump rather than being a bug.
Yes, it is. Go ahead and skip the break. All right, here's another story that just baffles me, James. Because the Republicans want you to believe they love Doge, they're ready to cut expenditures, they cut $9 billion, they're just on it. Well, now there's an interesting headline that says this: House Republicans are moving to allot $315 million to a group called the National Endowment for Democracy. What is it? NEB, National Endowment for Democracy, NED. It's a group previously targeted for, quote, defunding by the Trump administration due to accusations of bias and censorship. But despite recommendations by the Trump administration, from office management and budget, if you will, to eliminate its funding, citing partisan activities, the House Appropriations Subcommittee on National Security approved the funding. Yeah. They put the funding in a bill. It's called the National Endowment for Democracy, established in 1983, is being attacked for geopolitical meddling and nation building, with some Republicans attacking it, looking for foreign, what they call regime change efforts. And so this group is, pushing for regime change all over the world. It previously faced Trump administration cuts, but it's now seen an increase in its budget from under $200 million in 2019 per year to over $300 million in 2022, and now $315 million. And they say the bill still requires full congressional approval and the president's signature. What Donald will do, I don't know, but why would these Republicans who are so for cutting everything, why would they continue to back the National Endowment for Democracy? First off, we don't even believe in democracy. We're not a democracy. But we've got this National Endowment for Democracy that's been literally siphoning $300 million every year for years, James. Now Doge finds it. Donald wants to get rid of it, and he's basically blocked by his own party. This is a disgrace on steroids, James.
Yeah, I had not heard this story until just now, and it certainly sounds like everything. This would be a prime candidate for the sort of cuts that Doge was implemented to take out. And so when did all this get approved? Was that always something that was going on, or is this sort of like a new thing? And why? I mean, it definitely flies contrary to everything we've heard about what they were doing with programs like this.
Anyway, I don't even know how to respond to this kind of stuff. It's just so egregious. I look at it and go, man, the National Endowment for Democracy. Did you know we had this thing?
No, I didn't. And it sounded
again.
Had it
since 1983, James.
These are all of these NGOs that, but funded by the taxpayer dime, of course, that just go around meddling and doing bad things. And this was what we were told Doge was going to be taking out. And but again, my question was this something that they just didn't take out? When did the increase in funding get approved?
Well, every year it gets increased, buddy. Every year they add it to a bill. Every year they give more money to it.
Was it since Musk left, or was it before then?
Well, yeah, it's increased every time. Knows? So in 2019 it was $200 million, and then in 2022 it became $300 million. Now it's $315 million being proposed this time. Instead of the axe, they're pushing to pass it for even more money now.
Certainly makes no sense.
Well, it depends on your question. It makes no sense if you really want to rein in government. If you're on the take and you're going to get a piece of that $315 million, and you're on the, on the dole, on the compromise, then it makes total sense, right? And that's why I'm bringing it up, is most of these people are on the take. They're not really interested in the truth. They're not really interested in cutting expenses unless they can ox the gore of the other party or something like that. Other than that, they're not interested in that whatsoever. Now, here's some interesting tidbits. I don't know if you know, but Hope Hicks, James, the former White House communications director under the Donald, she's not really a friend of ours because she attacked us, regularly, sadly, shamefully, even after we helped her get in position, so to speak. But now I guess Hope Hicks is going to become the operations manager or the chief operations officer for what's called Devil May Care Media. And Devil May Care Media is owned by Megyn Kelly. So now Hope Hicks works for Megyn Kelly. James?
Megyn Kelly has really gone further towards our issues since she left Fox. I mean, I already, always could take her or leave her type of opinion of her when she was there on Fox. But she is talking more and more about issues somewhat adjacent to ours. I didn't know she was creating her own media company. She was still out there doing podcasts.
She's already created it. Really just as her shows. But it's her own media company, and now it's ran by Hope Hicks.
Interesting. Well, see, here again, Sam, this is what we were saying earlier, I think. Every time I see something in the news, I look to see who wrote the article, and about, at least, a quarter or a third of the time, it's somebody that's either we have had some sort of association with or has attacked us. And in the case of Hope Hicks, of course, she was right in the middle of commenting on all of the response to the Donald Trump Jr. interview, the very famous 9-month lead story back in March of 2016. They extended that when that was a news cycle that lasted about 9 months all the way through November. But she was, she's been part of the story, for sure, and didn't really enjoy our interactions with her. But she was a name I know, that's for sure. Former beauty queen, now with Megyn Kelly. Well,
so does Hope Hicks have good genes, James?
I hate to say it, but she does.
Does Megyn Kelly does Megyn Kelly have good genes, James? All right,
she's getting older, but she still does.
I'm moving on here. Listen, Paul, this guy named Paul Dans is his name, and Paul Dans is one of the architects of the Project 2025 that Trump, half embraced, half ran away from. He's initiating a Republican primary challenge against Senator Lindsey Graham.
Yeah,
he's expressed dissatisfaction with the current promise of federal workforce reduction, and Dan's post-Trump administration has been associated with the Heritage Foundation, and he wants to make a difference. Here's the problem. I guess the Trump administration endorsed somebody else, James. Guess who?
Lindsey Graham.
Yeah. What do you think of all that? Very weird, again.
It's a very weird thing for sure. Lindsey Graham represents just about the absolute worst of the Senate. And not of the Republican Senate, of just the Senate at large. He's awful. And the fact that he could come from a state as great as South Carolina. I mean, in Arkansas, they have it too with Tom Cotton. But Lindsey Graham is awful. He's got re-election, of course, on automatic. And then at the same time, Trump being Trump, going after Massey because of reasons of personal vindictiveness, even though Massey is much closer to Trump's purported issues than Graham is. I mean, Graham is just the absolute worst of the self-serving, sociopathic political elite. He's awful, warmonger, obviously homosexual. But the situation with his challenger is this guy has run before. I think he got like 12% of the vote in the primary. He was more of a establishment Republican as well, who now is sort of positioning himself to be, pro-Trump. But why would Trump need him in this case? Because Lindsey Graham's already doing everything Trump wants. So that's
yes
just
and no. I mean, Lindsey Graham has a horrible record, and we got to think beyond Donald. Donald's out in 28, right?
That's right.
So we got to realize this is a discussion. I know everything in the world is about Donald, every single thing, but this actually isn't. What happens when Donald's not in office anymore? Who do we want to be there? And the more we surround ourselves with good, honest leaders, the better off we are. And Lindsey Graham, pardon the pun, in my humble opinion, ain't it. Final segments. U.S. economy expands by 3%, James, in Q2, but Trump urges Powell for rate cuts to bolster growth. Jerome says not going to do it. The debate is, will we lower interest rates or not? Some are saying not expected. I think you might get a token lowering of rates, but not much out of Powell at best. James?
I refinanced my house the day Joe Biden was sworn in. I know the Republic actually came to the house. They self-serve. They do home deliveries now on the notarizing. And because the interest rates were so low. I had just bought a house not long, a year before, but the rates were so low you could like shave off, a few $100 from your mortgage. And so I think we refinanced at less than 3%, like 2.9%. I mean, can you believe it? And that was in 2020 or January of 21. And now look at them now. I mean, 4 years later, it's just nobody can afford to buy a house now. And the rates are one reason. There's other reasons.
Usually when interest rates go up, house prices are way low. And when, house prices are higher, interest rates are low. Now you've got a combination where rates are high and home values are through the roof. And people can't deal with it. I've got a 2.75% interest rate.
Wow.
And I want to move. James. Problem is I can't really move. How can I move? I'll just double my interest rate. That's quite foolish to start your loan over and double your interest rate, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, what is the average rate? What is the average Fed interest rate right now on a mortgage? 7%,
something like that.
It is. I have bought and sold 4 houses, I think, in my life, maybe 5. We've moved 4 or 5 times. I don't think I've ever paid more than like 4.5 or something. And so I mean, it is outlandish, and that is a huge reason, but not the only reason why people can't buy houses. I mean, that supposed value of a home has just doubled in the last 5 years since COVID, and they're not going down. If you are a young person starting your life, Sam, we remember these days, right? We were, after our college years, we're getting married and settling down, the whole American dream of getting married and getting a house and starting a family. That is a dream nobody can attain anymore. And the average person out of college trying to start a career and start a family cannot buy a house at all.
6.7% right this minute, James.
And what is the difference in
percent?
With each point, what is the difference in the amount of mortgage you pay?
Oh, about $10 or something. For every $1,000 you increase the
right, for every $1,000. Right. Yeah. I was going to say that's not.
But in terms of the interest rate, I mean, it's kind of hard to say because are you going to have a 15-year loan, a 30-year loan, or whatever else? But it ups your cost big time, right?
It's a big increase. Each point adds just thousands of dollars. Okay, so
if you carry out your mortgage for the full term, that's right, for sure.
But it also brings up your monthly note, substantially as well, and then of course that gets into how much you're bringing in, how much you've got to spend, and you got.
Anyway, I bring it up though just because I'm saying I get why Trump wants interest rates to be lowered, but again, I don't think that Trump or Jerome or some third party should control the interest rates. What's wrong with supply and demand? What's wrong with letting the interest rates just adjust as they do on the open market, James, and not have some controlling banking cartel?
Well, you got a big problem here in the South or in the red states because so many people from blue states are flooding into the red states that are making the supply and demand. The cost is going up because the demand is going up because people are fleeing these blue state tyrannies. But I mean, it is no joke to say that a house that cost $250,000 in 2019 is $500,000 now. How are you supposed to afford that? If you're a regular guy. A lot of problems in this country still. There's no doubt about that, and that's a big one. That's a big one that it's not as fun to talk about as the political stuff, but it's a nut that needs to be cracked because I would not want to be 20 years old right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being alongside for the ride. God save our republic. Thanks, James.